Our last example, example 3, deals with earthquakes. I'm going to go, first of all, before example 3, I'm going to highlight some stuff about earthquakes. Okay. Maybe, no, it's supposed to be. There we go. There is the formula for the magnitude of an earthquake, and it is measured with logs in something called a logarithmic scale. So let's highlight this whole first paragraph. When physical quantities have a huge range, like shaking this desk like I just did quietly, would have a measurement on the Richter scale. Okay? A huge earthquake that completely destroys this building is a lot more than what I can do to this desk. There's no way that I can shake this school, that'd be cool if I could, and make it crumble down. Right? But a huge earthquake could do that. Okay? So when something has a huge range of values, we use a logarithmic scale. And you probably know, because it's one of those, I don't know, one of those things you learn even before you learn, like with earthquakes, do you know that when an earthquake number, when they say it went from a 7 to an 8, you're like, that's 10 times bigger. That's one of those things that you come in, if you've heard about earthquakes, you're like, every time the number goes up by 1, it's 10 times bigger than the previous earthquake. So like, you thought the 7 was bad, the 8 is 10 times worse. You thought the 6 was bad, the 8 is 100 times, because 10 times to 7, and then times 10 would be 100 times when you go from 6 to 8. So what they have is the following equation for the magnitude of earthquake. And again, they would say that M stands for the magnitude, I is the intensity of the earthquake, and S is the intensity of a standard earthquake, which is basically next to nothing. And we call this, for earthquakes, the Richter scale. And I'm going to teach you a shortcut for the Richter scale, and I'm going to teach you how to use the formula. The shortcut is allowed to use on your test and your quizzes, and is really easy. So, here's our question. One of the things that they get you to do is compare earthquakes. Okay? The most intense earthquake ever recorded was in Chile with a magnitude of 9.5. Okay? And we are going to want to calculate the intensity of the earthquake in Chile. So in A, they're saying, here's your formula. And we want to get the intensity, so we want to solve for I. I is inside of a logarithm. We know that the magnitude was 9.5. And if you're solving for something inside of a logarithm, you have to get a single log, which we have. Then you have to do the step that I say you always forget, which is use the definition. Does it make sense that when the base isn't written, the base is 10? The exponent is 9.5. And so if I wanted to get I by itself, and multiply both sides by S. And we would say the intensity of the earthquake in Chile is 10 to the 9.5 times more intense than a standard earthquake. And that is a huge number. 10 to the 9.5 would be like a billion times more than a standard earthquake. Now in part B, and this is typical of what is going to happen in these questions for you, is you are going to compare Chile, which had a magnitude, and I'm going to do M and a little c there, of 9.5, compared to Haiti, which was listed on the other side of this question. Haiti had 7. Okay? Shortcut you are allowed to use. Can you see that the difference from 7 to 9.5 is 2.5? That's pretty easy. And if every time it goes up by 1, you times by 10, if you go up by 2.5, it is 10 to the 2.5 times more intense. It is that easy. Using logarithms, okay, and I'm going to say that majority of you are going to use the shortcut because it's like, if every time you go up by 1, it goes up by 10 times more. You went up by 2.5, it's 10 times more, 2.5 times, so that's 10 to the exponent of 2.5. If you were using logarithms, you would have found the intensity of Chile to be 10.95 to the s. You would have found the intensity of the Haiti one to be 10 to the 7 times s, using the same thing. And if you wanted to see how much bigger this one was than this one, you would divide the intensity of Chile by the intensity of Haiti, which would be 10 to the 9.5 times s over 10 to the 7 times s, and your s's would simplify. And your exponent law says if you're dividing powers with the same base, you subtract the exponents, and you would get 10 to the 2.5 using logarithms as well. But the shortcut is just so nice to use. But the shortcut will only work for earthquake questions. If you had other questions that you need to do with, and I'll give you some homework ones where you get a practice one with pH scale, or maybe something, there's probably one in the homework here with decibels, then you're going to have to use the formulas. So the questions for practice are 4, 5, 9, 10, and 11.